Kia ora and welcome to this episode of The Image Austenite. I'm Frances Duncan, author, Austenite life coach. With me today is Rachel Pilwer, book buyer, Austenite, all-around nerd.
Hello.
Today we're discussing chapter 21 of Emma. Mr. Knightley is very pleased that Emma's been a good girl and being nice to Jane.
Sorry, it's so cringe.
And he's having this conversation over Mr. Woodhouse's head. The Bates themselves come in to thank them for the pork that they've given her. And Mr. Knightley was going to tell Emma some news, but Miss Bates tells her the news that Mr. Elton is engaged. Harriet stops by and Emma's like, oh no, she's heard. That's why she's late. But no, she ran into the Martins because it was raining. She went in Fords and sat there to try and get out of the rain. And then the Martins talked to her and were very nice. And were even like, maybe if you're going to Hartfield, go this way because the other way is flooded. And then Emma's like, oh no. And then manages to balance Mr. Elton, Mr. Martin thing. So it's not so hard on Harriet.
Harriet has a rough time this chapter.
As we said previously, this chapter starts with a repetition of the final sentence of the last chapter. Emma could not forgive her. But Mr. Knightley doesn't know this.
He knows Emma well enough. He should know that about her.
So it must be like literally the day after the night when she's like, fuck this bitch, I don't want to be friends with her.
About Jane Fairfax, by the way.
Yeah. Mr. Knightley's like, you did so good. You're such a good girl. Look at you being nice to people. But he's saying it not as openly as he would have if her father had been out of the room, but speaking plain enough so she understands. He had been used to think her unjust to Jane, and now had great pleasure in marking the improvement.
I feel like if this was taking place in modern day, Mr. Knightley would have like a star sticker chart for Emma when she has good behaviour. He'd be like, and you get a star, good job.
I think he'd also have one for Mr. Woodhouse.
Oh, absolutely.
He's there to do business with Mr. Woodhouse, and as soon as Mr. Woodhouse had been talked into not what was necessary, told that he understood, and the papers swept away. Mr. Woodhouse is obviously signing papers that he does not understand for Mr. Knightley. I will explain it to you, tell you what's necessary, and tell you that you understand what's going on.
I feel like it would be very easy to scam Mr. Woodhouse out of his money. Be like, sign this blank piece of paper? Sure. Write whatever you want on that piece of paper afterwards. He'd do it.
He's really lucky to be surrounded by the people that he is.
Yeah.
That's why Mr. Woodhouse is there, and so they're sort of talking over his head. And Emma's like, yeah, of course, I'm nice to guests that come to my house, man. What are you saying?
I'm a very hospitable person. Like, I would definitely be the best host.
Mr. Woodhouse keeps inserting things about how wonderful everybody is, but the real conversation's going on between Knightley and Emma. And Emma's like, she won't talk to me. She's super reserved. And he's like, it's diffidence. It's because of your rank and you'll overcome it. And then he moves his chair closer to her to talk to her about it.
Snuggled up.
Yeah, no, but you're doing so good.
He's just so proud of her. You have manners. It's so great to see.
And then there's another potential lesbian moment. She is a sort of elegant creature that one cannot keep one's eyes from. I am always watching her to admire. Yeah, Emma, tell me you don't like her.
And I do pity her from my heart.
Which makes it more tragic. I like her even more. Like, I'm so much more attracted to her because she's overcome such odds and bad things are happening and I want to save her and I can't because I am merely a woman.
I can't do anything. That poor puppy over there who just needs some help. Oh, no.
That's a problem. She's not a puppy like Harriet.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Otherwise she'd just collect them.
Making a harem of women who need assistance.
She would. Mr. Knightley is more gratified than he cared to express. I'm like, what? Because Emma's saying what he wants her to? He's like, look, you are a good person.
She's playing you, my guy. She's not actually being nice in her mind.
Everybody around supports the Bates. Mr. Woodhouse talks about small trifling presents. Anything uncommon, because if it's common you're like, well, why are you just sending me bread? But he's like, well, we killed a pig, you don't have a pig, we'll give you some pig. Yeah. Emma's like, yeah, I just sent them the whole hindquarter. Whoa, okay,
that's a lot.
Good that they're sending them food, but then they're gonna have to get it done. So they're like, the leg will need to be salted and they can have it dressed however they want. Is that going to be causing them more cost? Is it an inconvenient present? I'm not sure. Good to let them choose how they want to eat the meat, but they might still need to get a butcher involved to get it to a state where they can eat it.
Well, it depends, because she says this in the whole hind quarter, but she doesn't say whether it was prepped before sending, whether it was a whole leg as is. You know what? Put it on a spit, roast it.
Emma's doing good things. So again, Mr. Knightley will be like, oh, and then Mr. Knightley is like, I've got gossip. And then Miss Bates bursts into the room. Mr. Knightley sees that he had lost his moment. Not another syllable of communication could rest with him, which is so funny because Miss Bates knows the gossip and will tell everybody and will spread it, but also she knows how to just talk over everybody and command the room. Mr. Knightley's like, I'm just going to step back now. Let her have her place.
He knows Emma likes gossip, but he also knows how much joy Miss Bates would get from telling the gossip. Yeah. And he's like, well, you know what? She'll tell it. It doesn't bother me. I mean, he just wants to be there to see Emma's expression when she hears the news.
And he does. She has a start and a blush. And he's like, yeah, that was my news. I thought it might interest you. With a smile which implied a conviction of some part which had passed between them. So he knows something went down with Mr. Elton, but he doesn't know exactly what. Miss Bates is like, how do you know? I was the first person to know. How do you know? Mrs. Cole sent me a note. She didn't even visit. The gossip was so important to spread that Mrs. Cole sent Miss Bates a note so she would know that Mr. Elton is engaged.
How did Miss Cole know?
Mr. Cole gets a letter from Mr. Elton and Mr. Knightley's with him. Yeah. And then he hands it to Mr. Knightley. Mr. Knightley then reads it. They share personal letters so easily. And he's like, it was cheerful, exulting. Yeah, with a sly glance at Emma, because he's exulting over Emma and hoping the news is gonna reach her. So confused with Miss Bates going between that and the pork, because that's the reason for her visit, to say thank you. But then as she was leaving, the note from Mrs. Colcott, and she's gonna tell you the entire thing, how Jane was in the passage and this happened and that happened, and she could narrate the entire story herself.
Like that first sentence, she says, the doors are thrown open, Miss Bates comes in with Jane Fairfax, and Miss Bates is just like, this is how I read it in my home. Oh, my dear sir, how are you this morning? My dear Miss Woodhouse, I come quite overpowered. Such a beautiful hind quarter of pork. You're too bountiful. Have you heard the news? Mr. Elton is to be married.
Take a breath.
Yeah, I'm just like, does the woman breathe? She must have amazing breath control.
It says something somewhere in here as well that she does have to pause and catch her breath because she said everything so fast. She's just so excited about everything. What a wonderful day. Not only have you got some prime meat given to you, you've got some fantastic gossip.
Honestly, best day of the week.
Yeah.
Best day of the year.
So exciting.
Meat and gossip. Mrs.
Bates is also happy that he's going to be married because she cannot bear to see the vicarage without a mistress because it's been a while. We assume there was another one in between. Jane's not that interested. And Emma's like, oh, you should be very interested in him. Also refers to Mr. Elton, I'm pretty sure, tongue-in-cheek, as a standard of perfection in Highbury, both in person and mind.
She doesn't believe that.
She don't believe that, but the rest of Highbury does.
But I think also she is saying that to kind of be like, oh, like, because obviously Jane doesn't care because she doesn't know this guy.
Yeah, why would she
She's never met him. And so I think Emma is also trying to be like, oh, well, you've never met this, like, most perfect guy. And he was getting married, so it sucks to be you, you know? I feel like she's doing it to try and make Jane feel, like...
Small?
Yeah, to kind of
you don't like me, so I'm going to make you feel small. Also, Mr. Elton's making me feel small, so I need to push it onto somebody else.
Exactly. She's trying to push how she's feeling and project that onto somebody else and be like, oh, well, you've never met the standard of perfection, so I mean, like...
Oh...
But Miss Bates immediately agrees with that assessment of his character. She hasn't read this book.
Miss Bates said, often quoted line, it is such happiness when good people get together, and they always do. Which is lovely and true. And the Eltons are a really good match, but they are not good people.
Like, it doesn't apply here. She doesn't know it doesn't apply, but it doesn't apply to these two characters.
I think Miss Bates doesn't have a lot of penetration, so she doesn't really understand who Mr. Elton is. But then, to be fair, Emma didn't. And Emma's like, yes, that cannot be a very long acquaintance. He's only been gone 4 weeks.
I personally feel like you can't know someone that well in just the matter of 4 weeks. But I know in Austen's time, people get married with a lot shorter time than that and a lot less.
Oh, hello, every rom-com ever.
Every rom-com ever, it's true. It's true.
They get snowed in for 2 days and then they're in love. And they move cities, countries to be together.
Yeah, a lot of rom-coms do have the very short span of time. It's one of those tropes that only works well in a fictional narrative. But in Austen's time, I feel like it's just the norm in some ways. Like, not quite so quick as a lot of rom-coms do, but I feel like 4 weeks. Nowadays, that's not a long time. But I guess then, you know, depending on what you needed. And maybe they did meet each other and were just like, yeah, you're the one. Because we have that note in the previous chapter about the Dixons, where Mr. and Mr. Dixon meet and just fell in love immediately.
Marriage is where you're heading in this time period. So when you meet people, you will be assessing them potentially based on that, right?
For marriage. You're not looking for friendship first, because that's not how things do. You look for them as a suitor when you meet them. It's true.
And you've got a specific time frame, because if you're meeting while you're both on holiday, you've only got the week or 2 that you're there to get it sorted.
So what we're saying is, in Austen's time, it's all speed dating.
But like Charlotte says in Pride and Prejudice, maybe it's better to marry someone and not know them too well, because you're going to know them eventually.
So there's plenty of time to get to know each other after the wedding.
And if you're both willing to work on it, like arranged marriages will work if you're both willing to work on it.
And we're open to compromise and things. Well, that doesn't work quite well in the Elton's case, where they're both asses. But that's why they work. Back to the line in the previous paragraph for a second of that, it is such a happiness when good people get together, and they always do. I feel like the main people in Emma that I feel that about is the Westons. They're the first couple who come to mind when I hear that, but it's also they're maybe the only couple in the book who I really truly feel about that with. Like, I'm like, Jane and Frank, I'm like, you know what? I don't know if I count Frank as a good person either. We've discussed his many issues. And then I feel the same with Emma and Knightley, where Knightley's a good person, but I feel, again, Emma's like...
She's learning to be a good person.
Yeah, she's getting there. But I feel like the Westons are the only ones who are, like, good people.
And it's lovely that they found each other. Statistically, you're most likely to marry someone that lives close to you. You marry someone that lives down the street in the same town. And when these societies are so much smaller and unvaried, Pride and Prejudice word, it's kind of amazing that such a good match could happen. Miss Bates slips up, though. I'd always rather fancied that Mr. Elton would marry some young lady hereabouts. Mrs. Cole once whispered to me, "Oh no, Mr. Elton could not, and that he could not aspire to." And then she's like, "Oh, but Miss Woodhouse lets me chatter on. I'm going to change the subject very quickly. How's Miss Smith? Is she better now? How is Mrs. John Nutley? Yeah." She's like, "Yeah, Mrs. Cole told me that Mr. Elton wanted to marry Emma. I thought he was punching above his weight." Oh, and I almost said that in front of Miss Woodhouse. Yeah, let's talk about something else.
Yeah, change the subject. I love how, like, she doesn't try and change the subject with one topic, though. She's like, "Oh, how's Harry? Is she okay? How's John? What's going on with him?" Like, anything to try and get someone to turn. It shows that, like, the gossips of Highbury know everything. They know that Miss Elton... Because it says Mrs. Cole said to her, and I'm assuming that Mr. Elton probably spilled to Mr. Cole, most likely over a drink, of his intentions to Emma. Mr. Cole obviously tells his wife everything.
And Mrs. Cole tells Miss Bates everything, so that means probably everyone in Highbury knows. Oh my god, how embarrassing for Mr. Elton. But of course, he was bragging to Mr. Cole, being like, "I'm going to marry Emma." And the Coles, not understanding rank because they're from trade, were like, "Great, that's wonderful." Yeah. And Miss Bates, who understands because she's been in Highbury for her whole life, is like, "You cannot marry Miss Woodhouse."
Yeah, Emma would.
Nuh-uh.
And also Miss Bates knows Emma, and it's just like, she would not. She knows that Emma doesn't associate with the Coles directly.
Yeah.
Because of rank. So she knows that Emma would never even look at Mr. Elton like that. She specifically says the line of, "At the same time, nobody could wonder if Mr. Elton should have aspired," and then cuts herself off, and it's like, she knows that they have to think about it, you know?
Nobody could wonder, because everybody in Highbury is in love with Mr. Elton because he's a handsome, eligible young man, and they don't have any of them. Why would he not think that he could aspire to her when everybody else loves him? And then she just kind of breezes out again. But she's not going to go and see Mrs. Goddard. She only cares about boiled pork. And I'm like, what?
She's not going to call on Mrs. Goddard because the whole reason Miss Bates comes over is to talk about the pork and then just gives over this information, which is like, well, why were you really visiting? But she's not going to visit Mrs. Goddard because Mrs. Goddard only likes boiled pork.
So she can't talk about the options for what to do with pork. But she's going to Mrs. Cole's to get the full story.
Which is hilarious that she didn't go there first to get the full story. Whoever was delivering the note from Mrs. Cole knew. They were like, she's not at home. She must be going to Highbury.
Well, she was putting on her bonnet to Hartfield. And so the note was delivered. So she was already on her way. So she should go, thank you for the pork, and then go to Mrs. Cole's to get the gossip. I reckon the going to Mrs. Goddard's is actually to continue the gossip. Yeah. That's why she really wants to go to Mrs. Goddard's. So like, Mrs. Cole's, get the rest of the deal, then go to Mrs. Goddard's and tell her, and so everybody knows.
It's a wonder that Harriet believed that Mr. Elton would have been interested in her based on Emma, because surely if Miss Bates knew about his intentions for Emma, she would have told Mrs. Goddard. And Mrs. Goddard, I bet nothing stays quiet in the school for very long, so I'm sure the girls would have known. But then how would it not have gotten back to Harriet?
Well, maybe they didn't tell Harriet because she's friends with Emma. Because Miss Nash gives her that specific look about Mr. Elton marrying someone locally, and Harriet thinks she's talking about her. Miss Bates and Miss Fairfax leave, and Mr. Knightley follows them out. I bet later Emma's going to be like, oh, having to deal with her dad, but she's only got half her attention on him. Laments that young people would be in such a hurry to marry, and to marry strangers too, which is funny considering how she goes about it, right? And she's like, well, Mr. Elton could not have suffered long. And then comparatively, Harriet arrives and was stuck in the rain. Compared to Mr. Elton's disappointment, you see the real genuine disappointment from Mr. Martin. Emma's like, there was real feeling. She could not pity them. There was wounded affection and genuine delicacy. But then she's like, ambition as well as love had probably been mortified. And like, no. There was ambition with Mr. Elton and no love. In this case, there was love and no ambition. She just missed it.
What ambition could he have?
Emma thinks that Harriet is so far above Mr. Martin when she's not.
Actually, speaking back to that earlier quote again of the good people, it's again the Martins also. I think, yeah, Harriet and Mr. Martin, I think, fall into that category.
Harriet, a much better heroine than Emma. Yeah. I thought I should have fainted. She goes into a store because it's raining to get out of the rain.
And who should be there?
And she wished herself anywhere in the world but there. And it's Mr. Martin and his sister. She's all embarrassed and not knowing what to do. And then eventually Mr. Martin encourages the sister to go talk to her. And then he goes to tell her that if she's going to Hartfield, so he knows she's going to see Emma, which way to go, because one other way will be flooded.
Such a nice thing. Like, he obviously is still saddened and hurt by her rejection, but is still like, I care about her and I want to make sure she's safe. And like,
and that's what you want. Like, if you genuinely love someone, you do want them to be happy and you want them to be comfortable.
Because doesn't it say in here somewhere, like, Elizabeth kind of talks about, I thought she talked about like kind of seeing them.
She came forward, came quite up to me and asked how I did, and seemed ready to shake hands, but did not do any of it in the same way that she used to. I could see she was altered, but she did try to be friendly.
Elizabeth is obviously like also hurt by the rejection towards her brother, but it still goes out of her way to try and be friendly. I think also because like her sister, like the sister, just Elizabeth knows that that's what Mr. Martin would want, is that he wouldn't want any ill will towards Harriet.
So, do you know the story of Jane Austen's very brief engagement?
Not well, no.
She's gone to stay with Cassandra, with her friends, the big sisters. I want to say Althea, and possibly it was Catherine as well, with the big sisters at Manydown, I think. And their brother, whose name is Big Wither, proposes to her. He's a few years younger and he's a bit weird, apparently. She says yes. And then she sleeps on it. And in the morning, she says no. And then she's like, I need to get out of Dodge because this is uncomfortable after rejecting somebody. So then they leave. And I wonder if some of this interaction, Austen was thinking about that happening to her because these were her really good friends and they were excited because they were all going to be sisters. Jane had to go, I cannot marry your brother and I need to leave now. And they remained friends. They saw her in Winchester. I think they may have helped her get the place where she lived in Winchester when she died. But this awkwardness of rejecting somebody when you're friends with their family and everybody knows what happened. At least with Mr. Elton, no one really knew.
Yeah, it's less awkward. It's only awkward for the two of them. It's not the same. Everybody in Mr. Martin's family knew about his affection for Harriet, his plan.
It must have been such a gut-wrenching decision to make. He had an estate. She's friends with his sisters and going, no, I can't marry this person. It makes me think of Pride and Prejudice, the whole, like, don't marry without affection, don't marry someone that you can't respect. And I wonder if that was part of it.
Yeah. If she was like, no. In Pride and Prejudice, Mr. Bennet's words might have been Jane Austen. Whether that was what was said to her or what she wished had been said to her, you know, like just the words of comfort. I couldn't part with you for anybody less worthy. Maybe she was kind of feeling that for herself. I deserve someone who is worthy of me and who I can respect.
She makes quite clear in her writing that marrying purely for money, she's not a fan of people doing that. The idea of marrying for affection was still kind of new at this time. There were more business transactions. This is a woman's job.
But I think Jane Austen, like, again in her writing, is like affection is important, but I think she also understands like that you don't need to be in love fully, but respect. Yeah, have good feeling towards the person.
The Collins are an interesting case study because I'm not entirely sure that Charlotte respects her husband, but she knows she can manage him.
Charlotte, I think, is a very unique character in how sensible she is and how realistic she is. She knows that she isn't going to find that kind of affection that her friend wants. She knows her situation and that she can't rely on her parents forever. And she knows that while she doesn't respect Mr. Collins as a man, he is a respectable man. Yeah, he's a bit ridiculous. But yeah, she knows she can manage him, but she also knows like he's actually in a good position. He's got like good connections. He will take care of her. And I think she respects him for that as well. And the fact that they invite Lizzie to their house, while obviously it's a chance for Charlotte and Lizzie to reconnect, it's also him trying to be like, oh, look at what you missed out on. Charlotte then also respects she's like, he's ridiculous. But I think she also does still like understand like that hurt pride of his and just kind of lets him be himself. She tries to make him more sensible, but she's not trying to like fundamentally change him, which I feel like is something Emma could learn from. Back to Emma. She really could learn to respect people and who they are and how they feel about things.
So Harriet's having a tizzy about the Martins, and Emma's obliged to hurry on the news about Mr. Elton to get it out of the way because she won't stop. It reminds me of 2 chapters ago when we find out that Jane Fairfax is coming. Mr. Elton is hurried off by Jane Fairfax to hear her letter. The Martins are being hurried off so Mr. Elton can come on stage now. And so she doesn't tell her with the tender caution that she would have previously. It ends up being serviceable, is the word that Emma used, and deadening the first shock. You're upset about this guy, how about this other guy? Yeah. And I think later on she continues to do the same thing, sort of playing off the memories of the 2 guys against each other to keep Harriet on some kind of even keel.
And says it's serviceable, but it's such a disservice to Harriet and her character. And I'm like, dude, you've really set her up for heartbreak with all your actions so far.
Mr. Knightley says to her, you have been no friend to Harriet Smith, and yes.
Yeah, and it's so true. And I feel like just that line, deadening the first shock, is just like, it's so unfeeling. The only reason it would be shocking is because of all the ideas you fed into Harriet. Already feeling off kilter because she's had a run-in with the guy who you told her to reject.
And she comes to Emma like supplicating, Miss Woodhouse, talk to me and make me comfortable again.
Yeah, I am so anxious about this awkward encounter. Please help me.
And Emma's like, I mean, I'm not really comfortable myself. She's realising that she's hurt not only Harriet, but she's hurt the Martins. She still continues to believe that she did the right thing, but she's aware that she's hurt them.
So stupid, Emma.
And that is our discussion of Chapter 21 of Emma by Jane Austen. I'm Frances Duncan. This is Rachel Pilwer.
Bye.
Thanks for listening. We wish you happy reading.
Beep, boop, beep, boop.